Lots of people have asked me over the years this question. How do I prepare for my next strongman competition? It's a pretty loaded question. There's lots of things like eating, sleeping, training, hydration, just to name a few. Today, I want to focus on one aspect of training that will help you prepare for any upcoming competition, and that aspect is contest simulation. So if you're new to strongman, maybe sports in general, or maybe you just haven't heard this term contest simulation, you're probably asking yourself, what is a contest simulation? Well, basically, what you're trying to do is simulate the conditions of your upcoming contest. Now, specifically for strongman, what this means, at least the way that I practice this, is to perform each of the events at the upcoming contest in order for a single set, which is basically how you're going to have to perform on the day of the competition. The whole idea here is you're trying to simulate everything about the contest that you can. You know, some things are out of your control, like the weather, for example, but you're trying to simulate the same implements, distances, or heights that you have to use. You're trying to simulate the timing of the events, which is going to change by, how many athletes are there or how few athletes are there. The timing of warm ups, right? If you've ever done strongman, we don't always have a lot of time to warm up. So that's something to consider. Maybe the lack of food. For myself, I often find it's hard to eat on contest day. I know others are this way too. So you might want to practice that way as well in your simulation. And one last point here is about the weights. The weights in a contest simulation do not need to be the contest weights. Okay. Now, it's maybe okay if they are if you're very far away from the contest, because even if you push yourself a little too hard, you'll be able to recover. No problem, right? But they do not need to be the same. So you can use anywhere from like 70% of your one repetition maximums, assuming that the contest weight is your one repetition maximum, 80%, 90%. But I would, basically save that maximum effort for contest day. Okay. So that's basically what a contest simulation is. We're just trying to go through each event as if we would do it on contest day. Okay? Now, you might be asking yourselves, why am I talking about this? What is the benefit of a contest simulation? Great question. So, basically the benefit is that you're going to practice how you perform, right? Or as close as you can make it, right? Like I said, not everything's going to be the same, but you get to go through this and you get to see a couple things. One is how you actually perform under similar circumstances as you'll be, performing on contest day. And you get to see how well your body holds up to the demands of competition, right? Now, it's also beneficial because, especially if you do more than one of these throughout your, season, you'll be able to practice technique and tactics that are going to come up in the contest. In particular, you might be able to throw some wrenches in your plan and then try to deal with them, in your simulation. Because trust me, in strongman, they're going to come up on contest day. So doing all that gives you a really good picture about how you're going to perform. Things are probably going to change on competition day, that's for sure. But you'll have a well-rounded view of like what's going well, what's going bad, and where you can try to focus your efforts before you get to the contest. So you're probably asking now, that sounds great. When should I perform a contest simulation? Another great question. So my recommendation in general is that you should practice them or perform them about 4 to 8 weeks before competition. Now, if you're, performing a contest simulation 8 weeks out from your contest, you can probably afford to go a little bit heavier because you still have a lot of weeks to recover, to refine whatever might not be going well for you, versus if you're only 4 weeks out from your contest, I would maybe not go so hard on the contest simulation. Honestly, you should save that for contest day, right? That's when you truly need to push your limits and perform to your best. So that's, when I would perform it in general. Now, you can perform contest simulations in the off season as well. I actually think that's a good practice to throw a couple in there on a weekend here or there throughout your off season, and it just kind of keeps your body in general ready for the demands of competition. A couple more points about when you should perform this contest simulation. It honestly should be a day where you have a good chunk of time dedicated to it. I'd say like at least 3 hours would be good. 3 hours is like the absolute fastest a competition with 4 or more events can be run. So anyone that I've been to is usually a lot longer than that, like double that time, 6 hours or so. And it depends on how many athletes are there. So if you happen to see an athlete's list or you happen to be following things on social media or wherever the promoters putting up messaging about the contest, maybe you can kind of speculate. You could always ask the promoter too how many athletes they expect, because that will affect the timing of the event, right? And I mean, whether the athletes are in your weight class or gender class or not, it still affects the timing between, event one when you lift and event two when you lift, and so on, right? The other thing is the best times to do the contest simulation is when you have help. Now, it is a lot of work to do a contest simulation, being the athlete and also being the promoter or person organizing the show, where you have to set up all the equipment. Anyone who trains strongman, you have events days on the weekends. They can get pretty long, and this is part of it. So if you have a day when you're able to have a crew or even just another person come and help you set things up and stuff, you can make your contest simulation more like the actual contest, where in between events you'll actually be sitting and resting, not setting up the next event. So those are all the things to consider about when to find the ideal time to do a contest simulation. Now, I did a contest simulation today, and so I want to take you through that so you have a really good example of how to do a contest simulation for strongman, and I'll give you some of my thoughts along the way. Let's get into it. So I'm about 7 weeks out from my next competition, and I want to show you first what the events are, and then I'll use those and compare them to the actual events and weights and everything that I did today in my contest simulation, and then share my thoughts about why I structured it that way. So, first of all, here are the 5 events. First, we have a deadlift medley, which is a couple of barbells first, and then into a trap bar deadlift for maximum repetitions. Event 2 is an overhead press medley, starting off with pressing 2 dumbbells at the same time, then pressing a sandbag overhead, and then finally an axle clean and press away for maximum repetitions. Event number 3 is a farmer's walk medley into a sandbag carry. Event number 4 is a sandbag over bar for max repetitions. And lastly, we have a front hold as the final event. So that's the events that I'm trying to see now. Where am I at? And how good do they feel? How am I performing? So that I can understand where I'm at and then try to make improvements, specific improvements over the next 7 weeks to really give myself the best chances at the best performance at this contest. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how today went, and let me talk through a little bit of my weight choices and event choices and stuff like that. So first off, I chose to do a yoke walk. Now I told you event 1 was a deadlift medley, and I also mentioned earlier that you can always throw wrenches into your contest simulation, because I don't know, I've been to a bunch of contests and you show up and some event you thought you were going to do has been completely changed to something else, and you got to be prepared for that. Now, that was a great excuse for me to change my first event today to a yoke walk instead of a deadlift medley. And really, I justified that because I've deadlifted twice heavy in the past 7 days, and I did not need to deadlift again. It wouldn't have been very productive, right? Especially in a contest simulation, going up to some heavier weights 3 times in 7 days. Not the best idea for me right now. So here we are. I started with a yoke walk. Now, this is traditionally a very bad event for me, so it's good. That's another reason why I'm practicing it here. This actually ends up being one of my best yoke walks ever, with 650 pounds. The other thing why I chose yoke walk is yoke walk's one of the most contested events in strongman, at least amateur in this region. And I have a feeling it might come up later in the year as I progress on to other contests. So it's good to keep it practiced and keep it fresh. All right, event number 2 here. I chose to do the exact medley. I have all the equipment, so I chose the exact overhead press medley. That's going to be at the contest. The dumbbells are the contest weight, 90 pounds apiece. The sandbag is contest weight. Contest is 200. The sandbag's 205 pounds. And the axle clean and press here, I went with 215 pounds. Contest is 240 pounds, so a little bit lighter. I'm doing this because I injured my forearm about 6-7 weeks ago, and it's still recovering. Actually, the clean on the axle clean and press really hurts still, and so I'm trying to take it easy and, like I said before, save it for contest day. So that's what I did here. I just did the single run of this medley, and it actually went pretty good, considering the forearm's not in the best shape. All right, event number 3, I did exactly as will be in the contest. We're going to use a different type of sandbag. I won't get into that now, but yeah, basically a farmer's walk, 50 feet or so, into a 100-foot sandbag carry. So my drive is a little bit shorter than 50 feet, so it's not quite contest length, but it's close enough for this contest simulation. And this event actually went pretty good as well. So event number 4 here, that's the sandbag over bar, and that's exactly what I did. I'm using about a 250-pound sandbag. Contest weight will be 300 pounds. So you see what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be contest weight. This is more than good enough just to see how many reps I can do in 60 seconds and still be kind of challenging, right? So I can save trying 300-pound sandbags maybe by themselves on a non-contest simulation day, or maybe just save it for the contest, right? Knowing that I have the strength there. So this event went pretty well, actually. Got 4 reps here, and I think that was right on 60 seconds. So you see here, I'm just keeping a steady pace, and things seem to work out that way. So good event for me. All right, so event number 5 here was a front hold. I chose a bumper plate because this actually made it very hard for me in my hands. I've been using normal plates when I'm practicing this, and they're actually a lot easier to grip in my hands, but this with your hands spread far apart, it made it feel like it was slipping out of my hands the whole time, which made the front hold actually way harder. So but yeah, this is the 5th event in the contest, and so it's a good one here just to kind of push yourself and see what kind of time you can get. I didn't go too hard here, but got about 30 seconds in the end, and seemed like a solid finish to the contest simulation. So just the last couple of thoughts here. That was the 5 events I did today. You see, I did a single set of each of those events or skills, right? And I didn't do them to contest weights. I did them lighter than contest weights. Couple of the lighter implements are probably at contest weight or were for the overhead press medley, but the rest of them were lighter, right? I got 7 weeks out. I don't need to be taxing myself now, and I've already done that in the last training block, so I'm already feeling fatigued. And so this was really a good day for me. You saw how things went. I was getting a pretty solid runs without really pushing myself either with speed or with lifting heavy. So this just gives me so much confidence going into my contest, right? I basically ran through almost all the four of the five events today, and I did do five. And right now, so this was this morning. It's tonight now. My body doesn't feel too bad. I actually feel I could go do a light training session now, and that's what you want to feel. And assuming I feel the same way tomorrow, that'll be a really good sign, right? So it means I've been preparing my body really well for this upcoming competition. And I guess in 7 weeks, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I hope you learned something about contest simulations. It's a really powerful tool if you have the time, the equipment, and everything to get it done way out from your contest. Obviously not a year out, but like I said, in that 4 to 8 week range, as long as you're healthy and things are moving good, it's a really powerful tool to just see how things are going. How is your training been going? It's like a test day for you, but not like this maximum effort test like you're going to do on contest day. So if you're going to do contest simulations, please, for the love of God, do not do these every weekend. Okay? Now, strongman have, events days, strongman Saturday, strongman Sunday typically, right? Where we do multiple events in one day, but it's not, to contest standards typically, right? And the weights are lighter. We're doing multiple repetitions so that we can, perform enough workload to get a good stimulus to grow and get stronger, right? That's not the purpose of this. Contest simulations are to simulate the contest. You get a single set, it should be pretty heavy, pretty taxing, right? You get one performance and that's it, just like at the competition. So don't do these every weekend. If you do, two things are going to happen. One, you're either going to burn out because knowing you, knowing younger me, you're going to push these contest simulations to the limit, right? You're going to want to do contest weight. I've been there before. I know how that feels, right? That's just going to burn you out or lead to injury. Now, on the other side, the other thing that might happen is if you don't meet injury, is that you're not going to get the stimulus you need to grow, right? So if you're doing submaximal weights, a single set, and maybe you're not going to failure in any of them, which isn't a bad strategy for contest simulation, it's not the greatest strategy for getting the most growth, though, right? So typically on an events day for me, you saw I did one set today of 5 different events. On a typical events day, I'll probably do 3 or 4 events or exercises or skills, but I'll do 3 to 4 sets of each one, and I'll give lots of rest and time in between. The weights will be lower, accordingly to what the kind of goal is for that day. But if you just do this every weekend, you're going to stagnate or you're going to get injured, but you're not going to get to where you want to go. So please don't do these every weekend. Now, if you can get this right, the timing of it before your contest, the weight selection, if you can get some help, hopefully, this is just a really great tool to hopefully reinforce a positive mindset and gain confidence about your ability to perform. And that's assuming things go well, like for me, they did today. If they don't go well, though, that's also not a bad thing because you're 4 to 8 weeks out from the contest. Things didn't go well. Well, that's okay because you have a bunch of weeks to hone in the things that didn't go well. Now, you might not be able to get a ton stronger in 8 or 4 weeks, right? But you can get a lot more proficient with your technique. You can do a lot of research, watch some pros, and figure out some tricks. You can work on your tactics, right? Like transitioning between implements, weight selections if you have to do that, scouting your competitors. So there's lots of stuff that you can focus on in that timeline, even if things didn't go well at your contest simulation, right? There's a lot of time between that and your contest for things to get better if you put in the work, right? So anyways, I hope that helps, and I hope you give contest simulations a try. I hope it works really well for you. If you want to see more videos like this and support our work, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. As always, thanks for your time. Take care.